This lesson gives you an opportunity to practice and analyze the responses to a full set of IELTS speaking questions. Let's take a look at how to use this video lesson. Okay, so this lesson has two parts. In part one, you get a chance to practice. You are going to hear all questions from a full sample interview. After you hear each question, you're going to see a sign like this on the screen where it says pause and speak. So at that point, you should pause the video and provide your response to the question. When you're done speaking, then you can hit play again and it will move to the next question in the interview. Now, the questions are not going to be displayed for you on the screen, except for the question from part 2 of the test. That's because in the real IELTS interview, you are not going to have the questions to read except for in part 2, right? So the best way to use this video is to try to listen to the questions and then pause your video and respond the best you can. Okay, now if you need help, look down below in the notes section. There is a transcript for the questions down there below. Okay, then in section 2, after you've had a chance to practice yourself, then you get to hear an example response, a really good example response. So you can listen to the recording of the sample response in this section, and the response will also be posted for you on screen so you can see what the speaker is saying. There will also be some notes pointing out some really good aspects of the speaker's response. So take a look at those. My recommendation is to listen to this response a few times and pause the video on each screen so you can read the notes carefully and then listen to what the speaker has to say as they answer each question. Okay, so in just a second, we're going to begin the first part of this lesson, the practice session. So get ready to begin answering questions. What is your normal morning routine? And what do you normally do in the evening? Do you have to commute to work or school? How do you get there? What time of day do you like the most? Why? Describe something you did yesterday. When you see the Task 2 card on the screen, you have 1 minute to prepare your response before speaking. Let the video play as you plan your response. After 1 minute, you will be instructed to pause your video and speak. Pause your video and give your response. Let's talk about the opposite situation. Now think of a class you didn't like. Why was the class so bad? In your opinion, what qualities make an excellent teacher? Let's shift to work now. What makes an ideal supervisor or boss? Would you like to hold a managerial position at work? Why or why not? What is your normal morning routine?
I am not a morning person, so I'm usually in a hurry to get ready and out the door to catch my bus at 8:30. When I have the time, like on the weekends, I start my day with a cup of coffee and breakfast with my family.
And what do you normally do in the evening?
For me, the end of the day is for studying and socializing. During the week, I have at least an hour or two of homework to finish for the next day. I like to study in my room where it's quiet. On the weekends, I try to get out and spend time with my friends in the evening.
Do you have to commute to work or school? How do you get there?
I take the bus every day. The trip only takes 15 minutes each way. If the weather is nice, I sometimes walk home from school instead of taking the bus, especially if I can find a friend to go with me.
What time of day do you like the most? Why?
Well, it's definitely not in the morning. I'm always tired then. I am most energetic at nighttime. That's when I'm either doing something fun or getting something done.
Describe something you did yesterday.
Yesterday, I attended my youngest sister's soccer match. She's very good and plays for one of the best teams in the city. So, the games are always very exciting. Her team won, and after the game, my family celebrated by getting ice cream. One course that I especially liked was a biology class I took during my second year of high school. My high school is located in the suburbs of Chicago. I will never forget this class because of the teacher, Miss Rodriguez, and the unique learning opportunities she created for us. She believed that learning should be hands-on, so she designed projects that allowed us to experience the topics we read about in our textbook. For example, I remember one time she arranged an excursion to a nearby pond so we could gather water samples and mud. We loved it because we got to wear special rubber suits that allowed us to wade in the water up to our waist without getting wet. When we brought the samples back to class to analyze them under a microscope, we were amazed by all the little creatures we found living in the samples we collected. I still remember the names of some of the tiny organisms we found in the pond. Experiences like this helped me to learn so much better than if I had simply seen pictures and descriptions in a book. Miss Rodriguez clearly loved biology and teaching. She was always so excited to present new topics to us. I remember that at first, my friends and I thought that her excitement was fake. But throughout the course of the school year, she kept it up. And she did other things to show her enthusiasm, like staying after class to help us with homework and taking as much time as we needed to go over questions from homework and exams. She showed dedication to us in many ways, and everyone in the class loved her. Her excitement for biology really rubbed off on us. Miss Rodriguez was such a memorable teacher, and I learned so much from her unique class.
Let's talk about the opposite situation. Now think of a class you didn't like. Why was the class so bad?
I'm sorry to say that I have had some disappointing classes. One of the worst classes I took was in college. It was so awful because the teacher didn't care about what he was teaching. It was a social science class, and I believe the professor was actually a graduate student whom the university hired to fill in as a substitute for a professor that semester. I remember getting very frustrated in the class because the tests and quizzes covered materials that we had barely looked at in class or on our assignments. I also remembered that he left very little time to discuss assignments and tests after he graded and returned them.
In your opinion, what qualities make an excellent teacher?
Generally speaking, I think a good teacher demonstrates that he or she cares about the subject matter and cares that the students learn it. These are the most important things. Sometimes, a teacher is popular for being funny, or may even for being an easy grader. But being popular is not the same as being a good instructor. I've had great teachers who are also very strict and demanding. If the teacher shows commitment to students and love for the material, their class will almost always be successful.
Let's shift to work now. What makes an ideal supervisor or boss?
I've only had a few paid jobs in my life, so I don't have much experience to answer this question. I can imagine a good supervisor should possess a few qualities. For example, a boss should communicate expectations very clearly. Employees should know what they are expected to do and how their work will be evaluated. I also think a good boss should be flexible. So, meeting deadlines is important, but just recognizing that people have lives outside of the office is also important. Sometimes workers need flexibility. A good boss recognizes that.
Would you like to hold a managerial position at work? Why or why not?
I haven't really thought about this question very much, so I don't have a definite answer. My first thought is that I would not enjoy it. The main reason is I would not enjoy having to confront people about problems with their work. And I would not like addressing interpersonal conflicts. I prefer to keep to myself and avoid controversy most of the time. It seems as though a manager would have to deal with other people's problems regularly.